In a career spanning more than a half-century, James Decker has worked on more than 600 pictures. Now, you may not have heard James Decker's name before, but if you're a movie fan, you've almost certainly heard him perform. Decker plays French horn. It was Decker who played this solo at the beginning of the Academy Award-winning film On the Waterfront, Leonard Bernstein's only film score. Decker's work is also heard in such movies as Jaws, Mary Poppins, The Music Man, Norma Ray, Godfathers 1 and 2, and Camelot.
You know, so many of these things I forget. You know, we go to a studio, we don't even know what the name of the picture is. We just go there and play the parts and come home. We don't even inquire as to what the name of the picture, especially when we're under contract.
Decker has performed with many of the country's top orchestras and can be heard on more than 500 record albums. He played solo horn on the Columbia Masterworks series of Igor Stravinsky conducting his own compositions. Decker and his horn have also done a lot of music for television. These days, however, Decker is pursuing another musical interest, teaching. He's been professor of horn at the University of Southern California for 23 years. This summer, he's in residence at the Bowdoin Summer Music Festival.
You got to lock those last 3 16th notes into her 16th. You can't start phrasing it. All right, once more. Listen to those 16th notes. 1, 2, 3.
If there's anyone who can offer insights into making a living with music, it's Decker. Even though he got his musical start sort of late in life.
I was at one of the junior colleges out in California, and the conductor needed some French horn players for the orchestra, and I didn't know what I was doing in music anyway at the time, but I wanted to play some music. My grandfather was a solo cornetist in Queen Victoria's band in England, and when he left for America, she presented him with a solid silver cornet, and I was presented that when my grandfather died. So I just became interested in the cornet because that was the instrument around. When I started, I didn't even know what a French horn was when the guy handed me this curly snail, and it took me, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks just to find the note that I was supposed to be playing on.
But apparently, Decker was a quick study. He was a member of the Los Angeles Philharmonic by the time he was 21, and through one of his teachers, had gotten work in radio and films. Decker says he was very useful around Hollywood during World War II.
I tried to get in the West Point band, but I couldn't pass the physical because I had an ear problem. A lot of the horn players had gone into the service, and a lot of music was happening in Hollywood at the time.
Those were the days when people worked under contract for the movie studios.
We had over 300 musicians in Hollywood under contract to 10 studios or more. And at that time, we were only allowed to play in that particular studio. We could do recordings, record dates, we could do concerts, we could do other things, but we couldn't work in any other studio in town unless we got special permission from the union.
Decker has seen a lot of changes in the movies during his career. He says while today it's possible to edit a single note out of a piece of music, until the early 50s, orchestras had to play a piece until they got it right.
Because it never would be the same. The enthusiasm of the conductor or the something that would happen in the orchestra, something like that, so we'd have to keep making takes over again.
While the musicians would be looking at the conductor was watching the movie which was being shown behind the orchestra.
Yeah, and there were streamers. They call them streamers. They were little edits in the film that would go across the screen, and then when it hit the other side, there would be something important happen, like a closing of a door or some kind of an important thing that would happen on the screen that they wanted to accent in the movie.
Decker says a lot of really good musicians go out to Hollywood to work in movies because they know it pays well. He says the top musicians can make $100,000 a year doing studio work. But now that orchestras are no longer under contract, there's a lot of time spent near the phone waiting to hear about a job. And Decker says because of the use of electronic synthesizers, there aren't as many openings for musicians as there used to be.
When the producers, so many of them don't really understand the music itself as a source, as the third element, the third dimension in a film. And they put up with allowing so much synthesized music coming on, and it's getting so tiring to hear that kind of a sound all the time. But I guess we're getting, at least the average audience is getting so kind of used to it. But it's really been a kind of a death knell to the recording industry, because we used to hire 80 musicians to a score, and now they're lucky to get 40 musicians and a couple of synthesizers.
That doesn't mean Decker has rejected the use of new technology. He's even using some movie techniques in his teaching, producing interactive videos to help young musicians learn the most important orchestral works. Decker says the project is keeping him really busy these days.
It's been a fantastic life for me. I have done everything that I want to do. I've made a very good life out of the business part of it. It's been a wonderful career, and I really enjoyed it.
French hornist James Decker, in residence this summer at the Boat and Summer Music Festival in Brunswick, Maine. In a career spanning more than a half-century, James Decker has worked on more than 600 pictures.